If you could fight one person, dead or alive, who would it be?
Damn, dude. Like, for like the fun of fighting, Abraham Lincoln. He was like a champion wrestler, and I just like to see what he's made out of. But like, if I could fight someone because I want to like beat the fuck out of them, I feel like you could figure out a couple people.
Well, I asked that question not too long ago, like, if you could, like, punch one person in the face, who would it be?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people had fun answers, and a lot of people had, like, the obvious one, which is,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
I don't want to drag your podcast into a political direction.
No.
But there are a lot of people I'd love to square up with, for real. Like, if they'd square up with me, I'd love to beat the fuck out of them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people, though, that I want to fight. Like, I'm the kind of guy that, like... I think about messaging people on Twitter, like, hey, if you're in Southern California, hit me up for an address, and, like, we could fucking square up, dude. Like, so I have anger issues.
That is the one thing that I'm like with fighting, and I mean it's good. This is like, I don't want to put a lot of stuff on my son. My parents put a lot of stuff on me, stuff that they expected of me, and stuff that they wanted me to do. I don't want that. I want my son to be able to make his own decisions with stuff.
Be his own human being, yeah.
The one thing that I am gonna insist upon, for no other reason than,
necessity?
Yeah, and real world, like, capability is I want him to be in some sort of combat training.
Yeah.
There's a number of reasons. Obviously, first and foremost, is you learn how to defend yourself.
Yep. And others,
which is, need it. Yeah, which is something that I was never brought up with, and it was something that I always really was interested in. I almost got close a couple of times. I really wanted to do karate as a kid, and I got really, really close, and then my mom decided against it. But the other thing, and I would argue is the more important of the two, is humility, because every single guy that has ever lived has looked at another guy and thought that he could beat his ass. Like, that's just the way our mind goes. That's just our testosterone feeding into itself, and we all think we're the toughest guy in the room. And it's really important for people to realize that they're not.
So, see, the thing is, like, actually learning how to fight takes that away.
Yes.
Because when you really learn how to fight, you learn that, like, your estimations are bullshit. And I'm not saying this at you, because you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Like, you know about walking into a gym and looking at a skinny kid and being like, I could beat his ass, and then gloving up with him and being like, oh, he's really skilled.
Beat your ass.
Yeah,
yes,
I can't do shit to him. Right.
Yes.
And it's happened to me too, right? So I actually think learning how to fight takes that away in a lot of ways. And I think that, for me, like, I probably walk around way overestimating some people.
Yeah, and that is what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want my son to think that
he's hot shit.
Especially
if he's not. Like, you don't want someone who's hot shit to think they're hot shit, but you especially don't want someone who's not hot shit to think they're hot shit.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at, is that we all, like, all guys, think we're hot shit.
Not all of us. A lot of us, yeah.
Well, your average guy. Just
your average guy.
You're always looking at the other guy going, like, I can take him. And that's just our thought. Like, even before we think better of it, like, that's just our first thought. Like, I can take him. And then you maybe try and reassess or something like that. Or maybe you don't. Most guys don't. That's an important thing for a young man to realize when he's out of his depth. And to be aware. Just to be aware. So, that is something that I would like my son to have underneath his belt, his utility belt.
That's right.
Because finally talking about Batman.
Thank God.
I know all this other shit has just been so trivial. We spent 2 hours on horror movies.
Talk about things that matter. Batman.
So we touched briefly on it in our first episode at the very tail end. I want to, before we dive fully into Batman, in another hour. There it is. You got it. It hit you. I want to talk a little bit about what the future of the DC extended universe looks like, because you're a little bit more in touch with that than I am.
Right.
And then we can dive into what it means for Batman. So,
I'm not as perfectly dialed in. Like, I don't know everyone's name. I know that that Roland Emmerich and the people that were in charge of Warner Brothers Studios were ousted when the company Discovery bought the controlling shares of the company Warner Media, right? Which is what Warner Brothers Studios is owned by. So when that happened, David Zaslav became the new CEO of the new company Warner Brothers Discovery, and he ousted the people there, and he put his own people in charge of Warner Brothers Pictures. Those people trying to just do their jobs were like, well, let's bring back Henry Cavill. Apparently The Rock was big on bringing back Henry Cavill. And it looked like the DCEU, the one that was started in 2013 by Christopher Nolan and David Goyer and Zack Snyder, it looked like that was going to continue. David Zaslav had said, the CEO of the new Warner Brothers Discovery Company had said he wanted to create a separate division like Marvel Studios, DC Studios, and he wanted to have a key creative guy in charge of that as the executive of that studio, in charge of creative, in charge of business. That was his mission statement, which in my opinion, and I'm not a businessman, seemed like a pretty good idea to me.
Yeah.
He ended up putting James Gunn in that spot. Turned out that the previous regime had already had James Gunn writing a Superman movie. And he was writing a reboot Superman movie, a new, younger Superman movie. So when he took that position, he did away with the Henry Cavill Man of Steel 2 that they were working on. And he did away with... It looks like he's basically doing away with that DCEU continuity. There will be no more Black Adam. The Rock's Black Adam is not getting a sequel. Man of Steel is not getting a sequel. It doesn't look like The Flash is getting a sequel. Ezra Miller has gotten into all kinds of fucking trouble.
Yeah.
It looks very likely that like Shazam won't be getting a sequel. It looks like that continuity may be coming to an end, or maybe it will sort of have a reboot with the Flash movie. Flashpoint. So it looks like we may do a Flashpoint and start over again, but it definitely is looking like a new, fresh Superman movie written by James Gunn is going to be the new starting point of the new DC universe. That's the direction they're taking it. James Gunn actually promised that he would announce the slate of the first couple movies this month, and it's like the 26th, so it's going to come in the next couple days. And I really was hoping that hit before we did this podcast so that we could talk about the specifics of that. But we know that he's writing that Superman movie.
So, what are your personal feelings on that, about essentially wiping the slate clean for the DCEU? Complicated.
I think, well, it is complicated, and I ultimately think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I think that they've needed a line-wide reboot for a while.
Yeah.
I think that they came out of the gate stumbling with Batman vs. Superman. No offense to anyone who likes that movie. I know people like that movie, and I like Johnny and I both like things about that movie.
Yes.
We do. Like, we like things
Mainly
about that movie
Ben
a lot.
Affleck.
Ben Affleck as
Batman.
Batman. Yes. Really good. And, like, we like that scene where he's running into the debris to save the little girl. It's fucking great.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah. So we like things about that movie. We're not hating. But ultimately, on a narrative level, as a Batman and Superman and DC movie, I don't think it hit its goal. And I don't think that the universe has really worked, even though I've liked individual movies. Like, I like Wonder Woman the movie. I like Shazam the movie. I think it largely has failed, and I think it's time for a reboot. And in 2018, 2019, if you had told me they were doing a sequel to Man of Steel, I'd have been extremely excited.
Yeah.
Because I just want another Superman movie.
Yeah.
But today, now, I think the best news you can give me is that we're doing a new Superman movie, and it's a fresh Superman movie with a writer that you trust.
Yeah.
Because the Batman happened, and that opened my mind to like, oh, we don't have to be beholden to this continuity. We can just have a perfect new Superman movie. And like, without jumping all over the place here, I just want to say that like, we haven't had a great, perfect Superman movie since 1978. We just haven't. And like, the new generation deserves one, and I like Man of Steel. I even like Superman Returns. I like Richard Donner's cut of Superman 2.
Yes,
we are
all
in desperate need of a new, fresh, modern, great Superman movie. Like The Dark Knight, like The Batman. Superman needs that treatment. And so on that specific note, I couldn't personally be happier than to hear, hey, a guy you think very highly of is getting that done.
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah, I don't think I could really agree more. Like there's definitely things that break my heart a little bit. Namely, you know, if we get the Flash, I know it's really, it feels very up in the air.
I think we're getting it.
If we get it, goddamn, you know what that means? We get fucking Michael Keaton as Batman.
I know. I know.
And I was talking to my buddy Christian about this not so long ago. I was like, dude, I don't know what could be more of a surefire bet. Like, at this stage of the game where everything's just kind of like free for all with the DC universe, just give us a Batman 3. Just give it to us. Just everyone would turn up for it. Just give us Michael Keaton as Batman one more time.
Yeah.
Just that's its own thing.
I mean, that's
fucking bring Tim Burton in.
It's not a
let
bad
him
idea.
do his thing and call it done. Call it quits. Everyone would turn up for it. Just give him a paycheck. Everyone's there.
It's true. I don't think the movie would live up, but it's true.
No, but still,
we'd all be very excited.
Dude, we'd be there. We'd be there. It would make money.
Yes.
You
and I would buy the physical copy.
Yes.
Like, yep, no question.
100%.
Yep.
You know, I was very happy for that brief 2 weeks when Henry Cavill was back as Superman because he wasn't.
I was too.
Because I feel like the man never got his due. Like, I feel like he was turning in good performance after good performance, doing what he was supposed to do in each film.
Yeah, he was.
But never really got his chance to shine in a good movie.
Totally agree.
Which is depressing because he's in the top 3. Superman, he's there with Christopher Reeves and Tom Welling, as far as I'm concerned.
Real quick interjection. During 2018 and 19, Matthew Vaughn was openly begging Warner Brothers to let him do a Man of Steel 2. And at that time, that was the thing I wanted the most.
Yes.
That was like, I was like, just let Matthew Vaughn and Henry Cavill make Superman, like, let them make a Superman movie. Like, just let them do it. Like, it'll be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which would have been great because
it would have been great.
Matthew Vaughn knows how to make.
He's fantastic.
Knows how to make movies and comic book movies for sure. So, but we lose that. We probably lose Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, which is pretty solid, and probably the biggest loss would be Margot Robbie as
Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn. She's perfect.
She's very good.
She's perfect.
She's a strong actor. I'm not like a big Margot Robbie person.
Yeah.
But she's not a bad actor, and she's good as Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
I am actually. It's funny. I'm actually pretty comfortable rebooting Wonder Woman. And I love 2017's Wonder Woman. Like, I love that movie more than most people do. But I don't think that Gal Gadot is a good actor.
Yeah.
And I think that in the second movie, like, where she had to do... Because, like, in the first movie, she's just, like, this, like, smiling, naive chick. Who's just like, I'm
which
pretty.
works.
And it works. But, like, as soon as she had to, like, act, she was really bad.
Yeah.
And, like, to me personally, that movie was really bad.
I didn't like the latest Wonder Woman at all.
So I'm actually really comfortable pitching Wonder Woman to, like, a new filmmaker and, like, a new actor and, like, starting over with that. Like, that's cool with me.
Then then I mean we already kind of we supposedly get Ben Affleck as Batman in
Flashpoint, the Flash.
Yeah, I mean,
So the word is that the studio is split on whether or not to do it, because they technically have Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, and Ben Affleck in that movie, and they're concerned about making promises they're not planning to deliver.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they already did that with the Snyder Cut.
They delivered the Snyder Cut, though.
Well, but the Snyder Cut ends with
The
promises that it's not going to deliver.
For sure. Well, but this is a new regime, though, and that's the point, is that they don't know if they wanted to be doing what the old regime was doing.
Yeah, that's fair. Just thoughts on the Snyder Cut, since we're touching on it? Better? Worse? It's a long bout of silence.
I'm gonna lose the audience.
Okay.
If we ever get an audience, I'm gonna lose them. I'm gonna say this. To me, Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman are very important characters, and I love them a lot. I think they're super important. I think they're great. Blah 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 blah. I'm this comic book nerd. I think that the theatrical cut of the Justice League has the best like Batman line that is the most actually the way that I see the character, the way that, like, Paul Dini writes the character in the animated series, when he tells the Flash, "Save one, then you'll know." To me, that's like the most Batman moment, and I think that, like, the theatrical cut has, like, Superman actually acting like Superman, and, like, I don't think it's a good movie. Like, the theatrical cut's a Frankenstein, it's a Frankenstein's monster, but, like, I feel like there was an effort made to, like, get it right, and I don't really think. I think I should stop there.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
It's a discussion for another time.
Well, I don't want to get into the Snyder Cut right now. Yeah. I don't think that it's this great improvement. In fact, I feel like there's, like, the pacing, for example. I was watching that movie with my girlfriend, and there was, like, 15 minutes of, like, nothing happening. And, like, I feel like if you had watched that movie in a movie theater and you paid to see it, and you were sitting there for 4 hours, I think people would have probably given it a lot different.
Yeah.
So, but I also don't want to be a hater. Like, I was one of the people that wanted to see it happen.
Yeah.
I wanted to see that movie finished. I want to see what he wanted to do. Like, I wanted everyone to get that. So, like, I was a person that was like, yeah, like let's make the movie. Let's see the movie. Like, what was he gonna do before they took it away from him? Like, I was interested in that. I'm not, like, in love with Zack Snyder or anything, but yeah.
I'm not either. That being said, I 100% prefer the Snyder cut to the theatrical cut. But Zack Snyder's a 50-50 split for me.
Dude, it's so weird because, like, I like a grip of Zack Snyder movies, but I'm also, like, keep him away from things that I like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I just, dude, his zombie movie was just, I thought it was fucking trash.
Dude, that's a zombie movie, though. Like, that's the easiest thing to get right.
Yeah,
and,
well,
like,
I mean, and he's done it right before. His remake of Dawn of the Dead, I think, is great.
Who wrote the remake of Dawn of the Dead?
James Gunn.
I'm just saying, dude. Like, I'm not trying to hate, but Sucker Punch was an easy W. That's an easy W.
Sucker Punch is one of the most boring movies I've ever seen.
It sucked badly. So.
Yeah, and it's just like hot girls fighting.
But somehow, I love what TK said. It's hot girls fighting robots. Why am I bored?
Yeah.
Why am I bored?
Yeah.
And so this is my feelings on Snyder, and I'm not trying to hate, but I just feel like Snyder movies I feel like Snyder's narrative isn't that great, and I feel like sometimes he does stuff that's like really bad, and like I think like Sucker Punch not being good and Army of the Dead not being good are kind of demonstrative of what I think of his abilities as a filmmaker. I don't think, and that said, I'm really looking forward to his Netflix movie, because it's basically Star Wars fanfic. And if you were like, what kind of movie from Zack Snyder would you like? Star Wars fanfic sounds about right. Like that sounds like something.
What is this one that he's got coming out?
His next movie is coming out from Netflix, and it's going to be like a science fiction. Going to be like a science fiction epic, and it's going to be a couple of them. It's called Rebel Moon.
Oh yeah.
And it's going to be 2 movies, and they're basically like he's basically doing Zack Snyder's Star Wars. Like he's doing 30s style pulp science fiction as a duology of movies, or at least he has 2 picture deal, and that to me sounds like the most interesting thing that Zack Snyder could do right now. And I'm not even confident he's going to nail that because he fucked up Sucker Punch. So you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I digress.
Real quick, do you see my point about theatrical Justice League, or am I just
I get some of it. I definitely see Superman as being Superman in theatrical cut is more in line with
Superman
1978, 77 Superman. Like he's definitely in line with Christopher Reeves. Like it feels like that. I don't think Joss Whedonness works in Justice League.
I mean, I don't really either. It's not a very good movie.
No,
like the theatrical cut's not a very good movie.
I like that line that you're talking about as far as Batman.
Yeah.
I'm totally guilty of loving long movies. I am. And I loved the fact that I got to sit and watch 4 hours of fucking superheroes try and figure it out. I think the villain is better in Snyder's cut. I think there's a lot. It doesn't feel as cobbled together. It feels like a more linear story. It just feels cleaner.
Because it's one cohesive movie, right? It's the movie they wrote and they shot.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It by no means is perfect. I just enjoyed it more than what I saw in theaters. You know, and even like watching Batman v Superman, it was a movie that I was expecting to be disappointed in. I was disappointed in. I just wasn't as disappointed as I expected to be disappointed in.
That's fair.
You know,
I went into Batman vs Superman hoping for the best movie I'd ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
and so that's a little different. But
I already knew that it wasn't going to be that. Yeah. I was really expecting to just be fucking flabbergasted. To some degree, I was.
Right.
But the thing that really, like, every time he was on screen, the thing that brought me back was Ben Affleck as Batman. I thought he did such a good job. He is, as far as physical human actors on screen, I was thinking about this the other day. He is the best representation of the animated series as far as
he is. Sure, the way he looks and stuff. Not really the way he's written.
No. But the like his physicality and all that stuff, and even the way he portrays Batman himself. You know, not the way that Batman handles business necessarily. But he is the beast that is in the Batman animated series. He is someone that is fucking intimidating.
Absolutely.
You know,
he's not a monologuing supervillain from The Incredibles. That's not what Batman should be.
No.
But just reference to the end there where he becomes a monologuing supervillain from The Incredibles.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway.
But he was, up to that point, probably the best version of that type of Batman, of just his physical appearance showing up and people looking at him and going, oh, fuck.
Yeah, I'm in trouble. I fucked up.
Until last year.
Right. When a certain skinny Englishman
That
said, "Hold my beer."
everyone was like, no, he couldn't possibly be Batman.
Yeah.
And this guy just walks into a room and everyone stops and stares.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Batman a little bit.
Let's talk about it.
What was your favorite movie from last year?
Well, that would be Matt Reeves' The Batman.
Kalen, why don't you go ahead and ask me what my favorite movie from last year
What was your favorite movie of 2022?
That would be Matt Reeves' The Batman.
The Batman. Mm-hmm. It was.
And
And here's the thing, though, man. I actually think it was the best movie.
I legit do, too.
I don't think it was just like, oh, well, my favorite movie. That's part of it. But I think it was the best film of the year.
Yeah. I really have to, find the line between myself and the rest of humanity, because obviously, Top Gun is really, really
Sure.
there. But
there's a difference though between paying a ticket to see a movie and like
paying a ticket to be in a world
and a movie being great.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of movies I'll pay a ticket to see. There's a difference, and yeah, more people saw Top Gun. But like if you're on like Letterboxd, the app, like Batman, the Batman is consistently in like everyone's top 3 movies of the year for a reason. People with very wide tastes.
Yes.
It's like everyone's got the Batman in their top 3 of the year because that was a fucking impressive film. That's all I'm saying.
I don't even know where to begin. I guess we talked a little bit about this off mic, where, so I saw this movie.
Yeah.
I saw this movie in probably the height of my anxiety with the war on Ukraine, where every other day I looked at the news and it was like, all right, cool, we're about to be nuked.
Yeah.
And I've since then stopped looking at the news, so we could probably be nuked any day now. I wouldn't know about it.
I mean,
But-
it could be, yeah.
I remember being in Lazy Dog having drinks right before going into the theater and looking at the news, because I was literally checking it every 5 minutes.
Mhm.
Literally checking it every 5 minutes. And
Oh my boy.
there was a nuclear power plant that was on fire,
Mhm.
and they were expecting it to explode. And I went into the movie just knowing it was going to explode.
Uh-huh.
And I would say probably about at like the 25% mark of the film, I really had to pee. So I ran to the bathroom, went pee, and looked at my phone, and it was like, oh, we put out the fire, everything's okay. And I was like, oh, thank God. And I went and I enjoyed the rest of the movie wholeheartedly. And it was a beautiful experience.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like a month or so later, they released it on HBO Max, and I watched it at home, and I had a really good time with it. And then Halloween came around, and I was like, I need to watch that Batman movie. It's on HBO Max.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes place during Halloween.
Yep.
I didn't watch it during Halloween time, but it was a couple of days after Halloween, and I was feeling really depressed, and I was like, you know what? That movie takes place during Halloween. It starts in Halloween and then takes place in the weeks after Halloween. I was like, there is literally no better time to watch that movie and deal with my depression post-Halloween
Right.
than right now, and I kept on thinking about it. I kept on like really wanting to be a part of that world, and I watched it over the course of 3 nights because it's a fucking 3-hour movie.
It's a long movie.
And every time I sat down to rewatch it, I was so engaged and so excited to be part of that world, that Gotham, and it felt so comforting. I can't even explain why, because it's not like a exciting... I mean, it's exciting, but it's not like a comforting world to be a part of. It's very dark and grimy and unwelcoming, but I kept on going back to, like, you know, the fucking club and everything like that, and I just wanted to be invested in that world. It has kind of become a comfort movie for me.
Yeah. Same here, for sure.
Have you watched it a number of times?
Yeah. So I watched that movie 3 times in theaters. I watched it.
Jesus.
So I watched it the night before opening night.
The night before opening night.
Yeah, my girlfriend and I were able to get secret, sneak preview tickets the night before opening night. And then, thank you, sir. And then opening night, we already had plans to see it with another friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
So we went and saw it the very next day. So the Wednesday before opening night and the Thursday of opening night, we watched it both nights. Oh, you motherfucker.
I didn't realize that I was going to pour out that whole glass.
Right.
That wasn't my original intent. And
No,
I
it's
was
good.
like, I don't want to leave during this conversation to go try and find something else.
No, it's perfectly good.
It's only the 8 year. It's not...
Oh, it's only the 8-year Lagavulin, people. It's only 8-year Lagavulin. Anyway, so we went and saw it the night before opening night. We went and saw it opening night with my friend, and I remember my friend. I told him, like, so we actually saw it last night. I'm sorry we saw it without you. And he said, "Does it meet your standards for Batman?" And this friend is a film nerd and he's a comic book nerd. He said, "Did it meet your standards for Batman?" And I said, "Yeah, it did." And he said, "Okay, cool." We went and saw it, and then the second the credits hit, he went, "Well, that was the best Batman movie." And then I saw it one more time in theaters because TK was saying he didn't want to watch it because it was a 3-hour movie, blah, 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 blah. And then finally...
Of course.
And then finally he said, "Okay, if you guys want to come down here to Burbank, I'll watch it with you guys." So we came down to Burbank, we hung out, we watched the movie.
You're too good.
Yeah. So then we watched it. So I saw it 3 times in theaters. Since then, I've watched it twice at home.
And more than I've watched it.
So I've seen it 5 times. And I would say to call it a comfort movie is actually an understatement because I don't want to throw it on all the fucking time. I want to throw it on like every day. Like it's like a comfort blanket movie. Like I love it. Yeah, I've seen it 5 times, and the thing about that movie is that it's perfect. Like obviously we poke holes in anything, but like the script, the score, the cinematography, the set design, the direction, the blocking, the performances, like it's a masterful work of film. Like it's beautiful. It's incredible. And it actually kind of bothers me because like I feel like because The Dark Knight was a perfect movie that no one wants to talk about the fact that this is also a perfect movie. Like, sorry folks, there's 2 perfect Batman movies that are masterpieces that are 10s out of 10s, but people don't want to talk about that because it already happened. And it's funny because I remember Kevin Smith saying Ben Affleck doesn't want to make a Batman movie because The Dark Knight already happened. What can you possibly do? And Matt Reeves said, "Hold my fucking beer. You can do this, right?" I want to hear what you have to say.
Like, you already said it. Like, the reason that, like, the only reason that I could justify that more people aren't talking about this movie, that this isn't the best movie of the year for people, is that Chris Nolan did the unthinkable.
Yep.
He made what is essentially, for all intents and purposes, a perfect trilogy, which probably hadn't been done since Star Wars.
Yeah.
With equally
Well,
the Return of the Jedi and The Dark Knight Rises being...
We're ignoring the Lord of the Rings here. That's fine.
And the Lord of the Rings is
doesn't
no,
matter.
you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
The Lord of the Rings is almost not so much a trilogy as it is one continuous
10-hour movie.
story.
That's right.
Like,
That's
I mean,
right. Yeah.
that's almost on another level of perfection.
I agree.
And I mean, arguably, you could make the same argument for Star Wars, that it was supposedly one whole story that George Lucas broke into.
Sometimes
3
when people
parts.
ask me about my favorite movies, I'll use Star Wars as one movie, and I mean the original trilogy.
Yeah,
I'm
and-
totally cheating. Yeah.
And I, for a long time, would say that, Star Wars 1 through 6 is my third favorite movie.
There you
because
go.
it
Great
it
example.
is.
Because it's a movie. Like,
It is.
It's one story, right? Yeah.
my only difference with that is that the Star Wars movies are not all directed by George Lucas. Those 3 movies were Lord of the Rings is directed by
Peter Jackson.
Peter Jackson, and The Dark Knight is directed by Christopher Nolan.
That's right.
So
Absolutely.
there is that.
Oh, man.
The Dark Knight trilogy is phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
Amazing. I love it so much. Yeah.
I would make the argument, and this is a big fucking thing.
Yeah.
Batman Begins, fuck, that feels like Gotham. That is fucking Gotham.
It's a great movie.
I
love that movie.
It is the most underrated of the trilogy.
Dude, when that movie, think about, okay, I should say think about it as if you don't know what I'm talking about. Think about being someone who loved Batman in 2005 and that movie coming out.
Dude, I liked Batman. Batman was
so
always
you weren't
something
there
that
yet.
I was really fascinated with, but I wasn't allowed to grow up with him.
Okay.
I wanted Batman so much in my life.
So I had already grown up with Batman. In 2005, getting Batman Begins felt like God had blessed me. Like, thank you for that. Like, what did I do to deserve this? It was so awesome. It was such it's such an exciting movie. It's so faithful.
Yes.
To Batman and the source material. Yeah.
And up to that point, like it just, and this is someone who I saw Batman Begins. Probably before I saw Batman. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, wow, okay.
It's before I saw Batman. The only thing that I really had to go off of was the 1960s Batman movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only thing I had to go off of. Please, help yourself. Wash the bourbon out of your mouth. So that was something I saw in 2005 and was... I was like, what is this? Ra's al Ghul. They're just making up characters. That's what I felt like when I watched that movie.
Uh-huh.
But I really enjoyed it. And then, probably like a year or 2 later, I saw Batman. Really enjoyed it.
Did you like that the first time around?
I did. I really did.
Because I'm meeting people today who don't like that movie.
Yeah.
And I don't. I watched that as a little kid.
There are some big issues with.
No,
Batman.
I have issues with it.
But
seeing the good parts is weird.
It's amazing. It's an amazing movie.
Right.
It's damn near. It really is damn near perfection.
Mm.
No way in hell Alfred would ever let Vicky Vale into the Batcave. That is my biggest gripe. I don't like
Batman also doesn't fucking throw people off fucking roofs.
Batman's just killing people.
Yeah.
And I don't like that the Joker was the person that killed Batman's parents. I don't like that. Even though the guy that kills Batman's parents looks more like the Joker than Jack Nicholson ever will. But yeah, so sometime after that, my buddy my brother's friend lends me the Batman animated series. I would go over to my brother's friend's house, and they would all drink, and that was the first place I was ever drinking, and it was great, and I would have good times. And his buddy John would show me episodes of TVs, and he was like watch the Batman animated series, like watch it.
Yeah.
And I'd always wanted to watch it ever since I was a little kid. I had seen parts of it. I had seen parts of the Two-Face episode. I'd always wanted to watch it, so I watched it, and I fucking became infatuated with Batman.
Yeah.
And that was
rightfully so.
That was
it's great. Yeah.
It was the summer of 2007.
Okay. Oh my god. My goodness.
And
so I just want to say this real quick. Like I've thought about this because like people who are like obsessing about Batman 89 or like people who are mad about it, I can't imagine like a better introduction to that character than that show. Because like my introduction to the character was 89.
Yeah.
It was 1992's Batman Returns. The place where that solidified my love for Batman was that show, and there's no better source material than that.
No,
that's like the ultimate. Like, do you want to meet this character? Do you want to see if you love this world? Here it is, and it's perfect.
Yeah. I watched it from start to finish, and then he's like, "All right, cool, you like that? Here's Batman Beyond."
Oh my god!
Yeah. Has no business being the second best Batman anything ever made.
That's
it
right.
really doesn't.
That's right.
And it is.
Yeah.
How have we not gotten that movie yet? Like, how?
We will. We just have to keep living long enough. We'll get there. You know,
you and me are gonna look like Bruce Wayne in that show.
Hell yes, we will.
We're going there with our cane.
We will walk our asses in that movie, and as little kids try to run past, we'll knock them over. It's gonna be great.
But so I remember just like feeling like I knew better than anyone because I had watched Batman the Animated Series, that I knew these characters 100% through and through. Probably read 0 comics by that point. And I remember seeing the first picture of the Joker and be like, huh, he doesn't look like he fell into a vat of waste, and being very angry about it.
Right.
And then finding out that he did makeup, and then finding out that it was, Heath Ledger, and being like, this is not right, this is not what it should be, and then, goddamn, that teaser trailer came out, and all you had to do was hear his voice, and you're like, that's not Heath Ledger, you're lying to me, and then I was hooked. Every single fucking thing that was The Dark Knight after that I had to watch, be a part of, I was invested in. That was my life. That was...
Yeah, I mean, I remember I became friends with you only a couple of years after that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very...
It was a big part of me.
Big part of who you were. Big part. And, that was probably part of why we became friends, right? It was an easy thing for us to...
Well, and there was that, and then... obviously, The Dark Knight Rises was on the horizon, and that... Probably more so, just a little, if I could go off on a little rabbit trail, briefly, I did, during that time in between watching the animated series and when The Dark Knight came out, I did a play, and I played a villain in this play, and I stole, every single thing that Mark Hamill did as the Joker, and all Bruce Timm and Paul Dini did as their fucking how they wrote him and drew him and everything. I stole it all. And I, performed this character with my shoulders up and my legs together and just crazy eyes the entire time, and I did all that. And I really became really attached to the Joker. My favorite. Just became a part of my being. But then Tom Hardy as Bane, and it wasn't just a character anymore. It was a fucking lifestyle. I gotta eat. I gotta get big. I gotta put on weight. I gotta fucking talk like him. I gotta walk like him. My wife will fucking, like, double down on this. To this day, she's like, you do that like Tom Hardy. You are Tom Hardy. Why are you being like Tom Hardy? Stop doing that. Like,
I'm laughing because I agree.
yes, you were there.
Yeah.
You were a part of that.
It was.
That was like years. I mean, to this day, it is still a thing
It's
that
like
I don't even know I do it.
Yeah.
And that is how much of an effect those movies had on my life. That they were like my fucking life for years.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that said, it takes a major motion picture to fucking, like, change course. Like, the Batman is my Batman movie now.
Yep.
What about you? Like, what's your journey? Like, point A to point B, how do you get from where you started to where we're at?
With Batman?
Yeah. Give me a through line.
Okay. Here we go. And I'm going to do my best because this is complicated. 4 years old, I was shown a movie called Batman by my dad. And my dad said, I think this is one of my favorite movies I've ever seen. And my dad's other favorite movies were movies that at the time I didn't like very much, like The Thing and Apocalypse Now, and
Heavy.
yeah, stuff that didn't work for toddlers for some reason. I don't know.
Can't imagine why.
Yeah. So anyway, my dad would show me Batman 89 at a very young age, and I loved it. And then Batman 92, Batman Returns with the Penguin and Michelle Pfeiffer. And I loved Batman 89 because my dad loved it. I think I loved Batman Returns because my sister loved it.
Probably because Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah, I think so. But she loved that movie, right? So I love those movies. And then the animated series came out, and I was just a little kid, man. I was a very little kid when the animated series came out, and that was like definitive with me. Like at that time, my first superhero stuff was Batman and Superman. It was Richard Donner's Superman and Tim Burton's Batman. So that initially formed me. And then there was the Flash TV show, but then there was the TV shows, the cartoons of Spider-Man, Batman, and the X-Men. And Batman was the best one.
Yeah.
I loved the X-Men. I love Spider-Man, but Batman was the best one. And then that was a full imprint. Like the Tim Burton Batman, the cartoon, the animated series was a full imprint. And then I got a copy of Batman: The Dark Knight Returns for like my 8th birthday from one of my aunt's husbands at the time.
Heavy for an
And
8-year-old.
like, would you give that book to a fucking 8-year-old? Because I wouldn't. Like, I can think of Batman books I'd give to an 8-year-old. Any one of them. Anyway, I read it and I liked it, and that stuck with me, right? So then that was it, and then by like 10 or 11, I was a late reader. I have dyslexia. So I didn't start reading as early as other kids did, but by the time I started reading, comic books were my favorite thing to read, and Batman was my favorite character. I really liked Marvel, and I was definitely a Marvel zombie. Like, I loved X-Men and Spider-Man and all of that, but in DC, I fucking loved Batman. And so I read tons of Batman comics, and then Batman Begins came out, and that was a whole thing. And
what was your initial like response? Do you remember kind of like all right, so the guy from American Psycho is gonna play Batman? Like,
I was skeptical. I was quite young. This is a long time ago. I was skeptical because I loved Tim Burton's Batman so much, and I just kind of thought they'd fuck it up because if you recall back then, they were fucking up everything.
Yes.
Like there was like
that was the time.
Here's a shitty Ghost Rider. Here's a shitty Daredevil. Here's a shit. Like yeah, you had a good Spider-Man. You had a good X-Men. What else did you have that was good? Like Fantastic Four sucked. Like everything sucked. So I just kind of assumed it was going to be bad. In fact, we'll get on that later. I just thought it was going to suck. But then the trailers looked good, and I got cautiously optimistic. And then I went and saw it, and I was dead in love. I was butt in love. And Cillian Murphy had actually been in another film 28 days later.
Yes.
And I was already in love with that guy. I was like, okay, he's fucking amazing. Well, guess what? He was amazing. He's still amazing. It's 20 years later. He still rules.
He's really fucking good.
He still fucking rules.
And he's still working with Chris Nolan.
That's right. Goddamn right he is. Anyway, so I loved it. And then The Dark Knight came out, and it was like kind of the best movie ever.
Yes.
You know? It was like kind of like, well, that's like my favorite thing I've ever seen. And then I made friends with you, and we connected on that. And I got back into reading comic books, and then the Arkham video games came out.
Yes.
And that all of that is, we're talking 13 years ago now, right?
Yeah.
So like my whole life, basically, I've loved Batman in every kind of iteration, from comic books to movies to video games. I've had friends. I think it's something like you and I connect on tons of stuff. It's not like we're just Batman friends, but that's like a thing that's been special about both of us
Yes.
the whole time that we've known each other, was how much we loved that then, and I think it's always kind of been there.
Yeah, I mean, what are we on, like, fucking 10 years of friendship now and
No, Johnny boy.
longer?
What year do you think it is? At least 13 years.
Oh, goddamn.
I would say we met 14 years ago. We've probably been friends about 13 years.
Goddamn.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No. It's good. It's good to put.
I were definitely a teenager when we became friends.
Yeah,
so.
no. I remember I was honestly thinking about it either today or yesterday when I was thinking about doing this pod, and I was like, oh man. I remember the first time Nick introduced us, and we were like at his house, and he was talking about like you two moving in together, which didn't happen. But I remember that was the first time that I had met you, and I was like, God, this guy's like so like, and not like old in a bad way, but like old in a mature way. Like I thought you were like the dude, you know?
Yeah,
and I was
yeah.
like, oh God, I'm so like, ugh. And then, you know, we were working together probably like less than a year later, and God damn, we really did have some just fucking chill times at Starbucks, man. That was just like the chillest. Like in retrospect, a job that, like, I mean, I know you were like a low key manager there, but like it was so much more chill than anything that we've ever done since, you know.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, man, I agree. Like it's totally been something that we've bonded over, and I mean how do you feel like with all of that history? I mean, no one's ever gonna beat Kevin Conroy. Like,
Okay, can we stop for a moment?
yeah, because this is something we've wanted to talk about.
Kevin Conroy, we love you. We miss you.
Yes.
Right?
We have
to put that out there.
There's like, there's probably like two people that are alive today that when they pass, that are people that I've never met, that
Right.
I've never, you know, they'll never know me or anything like that, but when they die, like, I will cry, and that's John Williams and Steven Spielberg. But Kevin Conroy
was one of those people.
Was someone that I was so not, you just caught so off guard, because he was in his 60s?
We didn't think he was going anywhere, man.
Yeah, and that was one that was like not prepared for.
Adam West was still doing Batman projects in his 90s, and like some part of me thought that Kevin Conroy would just keep being Batman into his 90s, and then one day he was just fucking gone. And yeah.
he's
the definitive Batman, and he
Yes.
always will be.
Yes.
He will always be the voice of Batman. He will always be the heart of Batman. He will always be our Batman.
yes.
I will always go back to him saying, like, I am vengeance, I am the night, I am Batman. Like, that will always be in here. Like, he's that guy, and will always be that guy.
Well, that is where we get
that
fucking beautiful line, and that fucking I mean, it is a fucking chest pumping sort of vengeance.
Yes,
like
it is.
I remember when I saw that in the trailer, and I was like, yes.
Yeah. So if anyone's wondering, in the Batman, the Matt Reeves film 2022, The Batman, when he says vengeance, that comes from Kevin Conroy.
Yes,
that comes from his piece about being the Batman, and he was certainly our Batman. And I'm just gonna take a moment to say he was a fucking wonderful person, and he did videos for children. He would do videos for children with cancer or other problems, and he would do videos as in character as Batman, and be like, hey, to like 3-year-olds, like, hey, I love you, Batman loves you, and I'm vengeance on the night, I'm Batman, and I love you, and you're brave, and you're a superhero, and like, and he continued to do that as he was fucking fighting cancer and knew that he was dying, and yeah, that's my Batman, man.
Yeah,
and I love him, and I will miss him.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have tried to. It's one of those things that you don't. Again, I don't want to force anything on my son, but I've tried to sneak Batman stuff in here and there, and this past season I threw on some Batman cartoons for him, and it was probably like a week ago or something like that. He woke up from his nap and he was kind of groggy and kind of like pouting. And usually he kind of wants to watch like Disney stuff or something like that. I was like, I'll put something on the TV for you. What do you want to watch? Batman, Daddy. So of course we put on
my guy.
Some Batman animated series, and
proud of you.
Sits and
Good father.
I mean, that's like, it's like, I have a little boy. Like, I have like a little boy that wants to play with cars and wants to play with trucks, and he likes to fight and he likes to be aggressive, and he's like such a little boy, and he likes to get into mischief, and I'm like, oh man, he's gonna love Batman.
And not only that, but this is one of those things, dude, where like we as adults think that Batman is so for us, but like part of what Batman is for, especially like, dude, like Batman the Animated Series, and I'm not kidding, I'm being really serious right now. Like, I think part of the reason that I'm not a terrible person is because Batman taught me to be a decent person. Like, or even like bullshit. Like I think like Power Rangers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like fiction I watched showed me that badass motherfuckers like Batman or the Power Rangers or Superman or Spider-Man or whoever were not assholes to the people around them. They were rambunctious. They were busy. They were like you have this son who's got all this stuff going on, and he's your kid, dude. He's gonna have a lot going on, right? But like having stuff that shows him that like he can be all of that, and he can be adventurous, and he can be tough, and he can still be compassionate and thoughtful and responsive to the world around him in a responsible and good way. That's important. And Batman, not to get all fucking Teletubby here, Batman the Animated Series was that.
Yeah. Like
the Batman in that show was like this very good person who was teaching us a very good way to act. He was like this Obi-Wan Kenobi, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, even beyond that, like, one of the bits that I, like, fucking always go back to, with The Dark Knight Rises is that moment in the cave where Batman says, "I'm not afraid," and then the Doctor says to him, "Well, you need to be afraid."
Right. Why aren't you afraid, you idiot?
Fear is the driving force. Fear is what makes you want to fight harder, be stronger. The fear of death because you need to accomplish your goals. And that's something that, whether I am conscious of it or not, is something that I always go back to. This idea of, if I want to leave my mark, if I want to do something worth doing, it's always at the cost of fighting death, the fear of fighting death, to do something worth doing. And, we're fucking nerds over here, but yes, like, this all goes back to fucking Batman.
It always does, man.
And
it's always back to Batman.
Like, being better, being stronger.
Absolutely, like being brave.
And even on the flip side, it's even more insane because when you're an adult, it goes even to the villains sort of aspect of things. I was so inspired by Tom Hardy to be stronger, to be bigger, that, I worked out and I ate and I tried to be this fucking beast of a human being, and at some point I got really, really fucking close.
You did.
And
I recall, he's not lying, I was there.
And
real big.
And then
we have great Halloween pictures, by the way.
Yeah, it's there. And then the older you get, the more you're like, yeah, you know what? Fuck the government. Let's get a little bit of anarchy in here, Like, I don't like the way things are controlled. We need to let people do what they want. And it's all these things. And I couldn't agree more. There is so many lessons to learn just from a fucking comic book character.
Well, and this is my point, man. These comic book characters really matter. And we don't have to segue into this right now, but I just want to, I want to, that's an important point that I want to come back to regarding Superman.
Well, let's just go here. I mean, I don't give a fuck. Let's just
go.
Okay.
All right. Okay. I'm going to start. Okay. Do you know who Grant Morrison is?
Yes.
Okay. Grant Morrison wrote the greatest Superman comic ever written, and also wrote the greatest comic book ever written. It was called All-Star Superman. And it was the best superhero story ever written. And the other day, James Gunn posted a picture of that story. Like, I'm reading All-Star Superman. People were like, oh no, he's only reading that for the first time. He said, this is my millionth time reading it. Relax. Grant Morrison has a philosophy about Superman and comic books. And I don't, like, you know me, like, I don't believe in anything. Like, I believe in, like, logic. I believe in, like, sound decisions. I believe in, like, thoughtful, like, thoughtfully, like, assessing, like, life, right? But Grant Morrison has this belief that Superman is the greatest thing that humanity has ever created. Like, the greatest thing we've ever done is Superman.
Even more than Jesus?
Yes. Much more. Much more, because Superman's real. Like, seriously. Because, like, Superman sets this ideal for us to aspire to. And it is a real ideal. It's a real aspiration. It's something we can actually reach for. Like, there's this certain fake thing about Jesus. That sounds so weird. There's a certain fake thing about Jesus where it's like this holy nature that's not real. Like, what is there to reach to for that? Like, be more godly. What's that mean? I'm leaving behind my earthly needs for godly needs. What's that mean? And that's not hating on you if you, like, are, like, super religious and love God and shit. I'm just saying, like, what does that mean? Like, what does that practically mean. With Superman, there's this ideal of like being the best person that you can be.
You're not wrong. I mean, it's that great bit that Jor-El has in Man of Steel, which is they will stumble after you. They will.
That's in the original 1978 Superman.
Yeah.
They'll stumble, they'll fall, and eventually they'll accomplish wonders, kill all. There's this reality to Superman, and like according to Grant Morrison, Superman's more real than you and me. You know why? Superman was here before us. Superman will be here after us, and many more people will meet and be influenced by Superman than you and me. So how is Superman not more real than we are? So Superman is not only real, but Superman's the greatest thing that we've ever done as a species. And Grant Morrison's not kidding about this. And I don't like buy this wholesale, but I find this interesting. And it's what you're just talking about how like Batman is like, well, I learned these things from Batman, right? And you can learn these things from Superman. Like it can be like Grant Morrison sees Superman as the greatest beacon we've ever had as a people, as humankind. And I think that's very interesting. And I think that's I don't know. I just think it's worth mining, worth exploring. I think it's interesting that so many people write it off as like kid stuff or bad or whatever. And if you actually dig in and you see the things that it can be all these things, like Batman the Animated Series being something that did such a good thing for so many kids. Like if we could actually somehow dig in and find out how Batman the Animated Series affected children, would we not find out that it did like wonders for us as people? Like I think we would.
Yeah, well, I do find it, perplexing because my mother tried to protect me from it for so long.
But didn't it make you a better person? And no offense, didn't that make you a better person than the Bible did?
I would argue that it did.
I would too.
Because there's always a moral, there's always a message, there's always a lesson of hope, of struggle, of triumph of the human soul.
Absolutely.
And I don't much buy into stuff like that. I mean, me. I'm a pessimist through and through. I recently told my friend she was having an argument with her sister, and she was telling her sister like, well, I love you, but this, and this, and I appreciate you, but this, and this, and I really thank you for telling me this, but this, and this, and my response to her was like, all right, cool, all that's fine, but you really need to get in touch with your Irish and just bottle all that up and just let it fucking consume you. And the minute you realize that humans are a failure and that you will always be disappointed by every single thing that we do, that you will be so much better off. And I do firmly believe that. I do. I really do.
I also know that that's not the whole story, but that's fine. We'll stop right there.
Yeah, and you're not wrong. But that I'm so much more content in the fact that humanity is a disappointment, that we are a failure. The only thing that has given me any hope, and it's also a supreme point of anxiety and disappointment, is that I have a son, and that maybe, just maybe, he could be better than me.
Yep, probably will be.
I hope so.
Probably because of you.
Probably because of his mother. But there when I watch things like Batman, when I watch things like Superman, when I see things like fucking Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile, written by Stephen King, by the way, the fucking master of horror,
the hack horror writer, who's so bad,
who manages to write some of the most hopeful and inspiring human stories of all,
and brilliant for that. Yeah,
that there is some worth to us as a species, and maybe, I don't know, just maybe.
And that is where you and TK are so similar, and where I am this weird person who has to be this.
Voice of reason.
I'm this optimist because I'm like very pessimistic, but you guys make me be the optimist, and fuck you. And like, you know, it's cool. And this isn't all appropriate for the podcast, but it's fine. You're a very good person, and you're a very good role model for your son. And so, I mean, I guess that's something for the counter argument. But I want to ask you this, and I think this is fun for the conversation here, because I talked to some people about this. So I asked some people, do you think that James Gunn's Superman, and we can get back to Batman, but do you think James Gunn's Superman can be his Sam Raimi's Spider-Man moment? And what do I mean by that? Sam Raimi's Spider-Man had such a... Did I just give you whiplash with that? Did I just fuck everything up?
No,
Okay.
you're good, you're good.
I was just like, Johnny, you're a good person, now tell me about Superman. I'm so proud of you. You're my best friend.
All right.
Tell me about Superman.
You're a pretty good human being. Now let's see how you feel about what most people are saying is the best human being ever.
Right. So check it out. So, I had this thought that, and this is my hope, that like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man moment was that Sam Raimi was this brilliant creative person, and he got Spider-Man, and he had such reverence that he not only injected his own voice and his own style, but he also made sure that the spirit of the original thing was true. And he created like the perfect synergy of like the original thing, his own voice, and like the perfect thing. And he made the Spider-Man trilogy, which I think is just brilliant, right? Do you think that maybe, and we don't know if James Gunn's directing or not, but let's say maybe James Gunn's directing. Do you think maybe James Gunn could do that with Superman in this instance? And I want to point out that I had 3 conversations about this. The first was with my girlfriend, and I said, do you think this could be his Sam Raimi moment? And she said, yes, I'm almost certain it will be. This will be the Superman movie, talking to me specifically, that you've always wanted. And I'm like, thanks, babe. I went to my friend Holly, who was the guy I went to see Batman with. Comic book nerd and film nerd. He gets both. And I said, do you think this is possible? And he said, yes. He's like, that's what's going to happen. He's like, James Gunn is going to respect Superman enough, but bring enough of his voice that he's going to make it perfect. And then I asked TK, I said, do you think that this could be James Gunn's Sam Raimi moment where he creates a perfect thing where he has enough reverence for the character and talent to make it perfect? And he said, in 2 letters, no. So, with a shout out and love to our friend TK, what do you think about that? What do you think about that?
Boy, do I hate to equal the scales, but no.
No.
And
Fuck me. Okay.
And here's why.
Hit me.
I love James Gunn.
Yeah.
Now, do I think he can do a good treatment? Yes. I think he can write a good story. Now, if he's directing and if he is the screenwriter, I think we're in trouble. And
wow,
my reasons for that are...
I'm so fucked up on this because like my hopes hinge on this movie. Go ahead.
My reasons for this are twofold. One, I have not seen James Gunn direct and I'm not saying that he can't, because if you can do comedy, you can do drama. But I've not seen him direct or be a part of one serious thing through and through. And just hear me out on this. Slither.
Yep.
Guardians of the Galaxy 2, the Suicide Squad. They're don't get me wrong, there's beats of drama. And I just little parentheses here, I would love to be wrong about all this. Also, I have seen his take on Superman. It's Superman as a villain. But I've seen... What is that movie? He did it with his brother.
Brightburn. He didn't direct it. He was just a producer on that.
I was pretty sure he was... I'm pretty sure he had...
I think he was just a producer.
Let's just fucking confirm this one way or another. go. Here we go. Okay. It looks like it was just his brother.
He just had a producing credit.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So, which is a movie that I actually like. I don't think they handle it with as much reverence and caution as they probably should have. That being said, I mean, I would love to be wrong, but I just haven't seen anything to really lend itself to and this
Like
this,
the Guardians of the Galaxy?
Maybe it's time, maybe it's Marvel fatigue, but that was a movie I really enjoyed. I've watched it one time.
You watched Guardians of the Galaxy one time.
Yeah.
Because I hit you up in the year of our Lord, 2014, and I said, my friend Jonathan, Guardians of the Galaxy is one of the best movies I've ever seen in my entire life, and I can't wait for you to watch this movie again. And you said, okay, sure, Caitlin.
Did I watch it twice?
I don't know if you watched it twice. I'm telling you what I remember, because this is important to this conversation, because I don't think you're giving James Gunn his due, and this is important to me.
Okay.
And you said, okay, I'm gonna go watch the movie, and I said it's literally one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life. Like it's so fucking good, Johnny. And you're like, all right, calm down, but like I believe you, I'm excited to see it. It's cool. We'll go watch it. You went and watched it, and you text me back, and you called me on the phone, and you said, obviously, we were walking on water when we came out of the Avengers. Because I said maybe it's better than the Avengers, because that was what we had said coming out of the movie. You said, I want to remind you, we are all walking on water coming out of the Avengers. You said, but you were like, that is right up there with the Avengers. That is a great movie. And I can't wait to have that in my collection. Like, what an incredible movie. That was your response to that movie. So if you haven't watched it since, and your response to it is it's not as good because you just haven't watched it since then, I'm sorry, but that response is invalid. That response that you had to actually seeing the movie is more valid to your modern take of it's not that good because I haven't watched it in 9 years and I only loved it to death at the time.
Okay. God bless you, because that's amazing to me that you remember any of that.
It's all true.
And I don't doubt you.
Yeah.
I don't think I've watched it since. I never bought it.
You didn't buy it? Nope. You literally said, I can't wait to have that in my collection back in 2014.
I think that was at the time when it was like, that was probably one of the first movies of Marvel that I didn't buy. So, my glass is smaller, remember?
That's right. I gotta take care of you there. I'm sorry if I'm killing your expensive scotch.
No. It was it's old. It needs to be drank.
That's right. You gotta finish the bottle sometime.
We're at like a 2-hour podcast right here.
Like a 7-hour
We're just
podcast.
going in. We're not even on Batman anymore.
I know. What are we talking about? Go on. Please.
But, dude, I remember. I legit remember being probably the most excited person in the room when you, me, TK, and like I don't know if it was Nick or if it was Luke but I remember there's 4 of us that sat there and watched that trailer.
That's right. That's fucking right.
You remember that?
Yes, we were so pumped.
And part of it was because Chris Pratt I just known him from Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
And he was this dorky, chubby guy, and now he was this fucking ripped superhero.
Yep.
Boy, how the times have changed.
That's right.
Dude, I had a blast with it. I had a blast with the second one. Even though I do remember watching the second one and feeling something wasn't quite there. Even though it had Kurt Russell, which like I feel like you can hardly go wrong with Kurt Russell. Maybe it's because it made Kurt Russell a bad guy, which I'm not in favor of.
Right.
But I don't know, man. I didn't watch the Christmas special. We'll dive into Marvel here for a bit.
Sure.
My good buddy Christian that you know, he's a passionate Marvel fan. You guys should actually hang out. Like, you guys would really get along great. He knows how I feel about it, and he recently sent me the new Ant-Man trailer and kind of gave me his pitch about, like, come on, man, like, I know you're not feeling it, but watch this, like, come see this with me sort of a deal. I think this'll do it for you. And I watched the trailer, and I didn't have the heart to tell him over messaging, so, I had to wait to tell him in person that I was just like, yeah, I watched it. I felt nothing. Nothing.
Sure.
I didn't care. He's like, really? I was like, yeah, man, it all feels like the same to me, and that's where I'm at with all of it. Like, and
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Did you watch Werewolf by Night?
I did not.
I feel like this whole conversation is almost null and void.
I might need a better pitch because I've heard some stuff about it, but like I'm so unimpressed with everything Marvel has done, and I on just a basis of like horror in general, like right now, if it's not 1980s, and this is on me. This is 100%.
This makes you weird. This
is absolutely me, and this is me being weird. But if it's not like 1980s, 1970s horror, like I'm almost not interested in anything right now.
Okay, well that's fine, man. That's your own taste. Like that's what's going on. Right?
Yeah.
That's cool. I would say that...
Now, okay, I'll preface this. If you were to like invite me over, and you're like, hey, Johnny, like, come over. We're gonna watch this Werewolf by Night. I'm gonna provide drinks, and you just hang out. I'd be like, all right, cool. I'm there. I'm gonna watch it.
Sure.
You're the host, and this is what we're doing. This is kind of what I do with you, or we haven't had this actual opportunity with you because you are great and you do your homework first. Everybody else usually comes over, watches the movie with me, and then we do the podcast and we talk about the movie. But if you were to do that, then I'd be like, absolutely, I'm there. I'll watch it wholeheartedly. I'm happy to be there. If I have to do it on my own terms, probably not going to happen.
Okay. Well, okay. And I mean, we're all grown-ups, and that's fine. Like, we don't have to watch the same things. I'll tell you this, that movie fucking slaps. It's great. It's very like Hammer horror. It's very like 1930s, 40s Universal horror. And it really gets it right, and it's like very good. And I think that's kind of my thing when you're like, I'm done with Marvel. I'm like, did you watch the horror movie that Marvel made? You're like, no, I watched the horror movie they didn't make. And I'm like, okay, well that movie, that movie did kind of suck, but like they made a horror movie that was good. And then, like, they're gonna make more movies that are good. And, like, I can't convince you to watch them. Like, if you're not interested, you're not interested, and that's fine. Like, I'm not gonna be interested in, like, all of the shitty movies you like. Like, you like a lot of terrible... I'm serious.
Yeah, I do.
You like a lot of terrible, garbage, bullshit movies that, like, I want to like for the sake of having things to watch and talk about, but, like, I don't fucking care. So it's okay. But, like, I just think that, like, Marvel's going to keep making good movies, and, like, I think Werewolf by Night was really good. Did you watch Black Panther 2? Okay, so here's the thing, man. You're coming up here. You're coming up here with this big hard dick. Like, I didn't like Doctor Strange 2, and I'm done with Marvel. But you didn't watch Marvel's best projects this year. You didn't watch them.
Well, I watched 2 of the 3, and
you didn't watch the good ones.
I Well, okay, I didn't watch the TV one.
And if it doesn't, fuck the TV one. I don't care about that at all.
Well,
the only TV one I care about is the werewolf.
But the werewolf one is essentially a TV
that's
one.
the only one I'm talking about, though,
Okay.
from that.
And
if it doesn't interest you, it doesn't interest you. But my point being that, like, if you gave those a try, I feel like you'd find things you liked.
And to my argument about Black Panther, I did watch some substantial recaps on it, so I am aware of the way that the film...
But you didn't see the movie.
I didn't see the movie, but...
In
my defense, I was tapped out at that point. I'm like, and I'm.
God bless you.
I apologize.
No, God bless you. Like, if it's not drawing you in, you're not interested in seeing it. That's what it is.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing. It's like I can't even go to the movies to see movies I want to see.
Yeah.
These days.
Yeah.
So I'm certainly not gonna go to see movies I am not interested in.
Totally fair. I will just say, as like your podcast partner and like a movie friend, that I think you're going to skip a lot of good things. And I think that your current attitude is actually reflective of the fact that you are sort of deflecting and ignoring good things, because you were sitting here talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy like it wasn't a big deal, when in reality, when you saw the movie, you absolutely loved it.
Okay.
So I think some of that's going on here, and that's okay.
You're not wrong. Okay. Yes.
You loved that movie.
I did.
I did.
Dude, at the time, Marvel was perfect for me. Dude. Endgame is some of the best fucking cinema I have ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
I was legit in the shower the other day, in the fucking shower at whatever time, just thinking about...
Jerking off to Endgame.
Yeah, why not? I was legit just thinking about, I am Iron Man. And how perfect of a fucking end cap of 10 fucking years of perfection that was. I will never, ever, ever in a million years take away anything that they did from Iron Man to Endgame. Perfect. Perfect. I fucking loved it. I fucking loved all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Far Away From Home, great.
Mm-hmm.
No Way Home, perfect. Everything after that, I have not been able to get on, and that could just be me. That could just
say that sounds like you.
That absolutely could just be me. I think I've just reached my point. But I'm also in a weird fucking place, man. I'm in a legit weird place where, and this is a place where I've never found myself before, where, with the exception of Tom Cruise movies and Keanu Reeves movies, I don't want to watch any blockbuster films. I really don't. I want to see Mission Impossible and I want to see John Wick 4. Everything else, I'm not really interested in. Even Oppenheimer, I'm like, all right, Christopher Nolan, how much farther up your ass can you get?
I guess we're about to find out.
Yeah, I mean, I love Cillian Murphy, and that's actually the thing that's kind of reeling me in. I was like, man, he actually looks, that movie looks good just because he looks good. Yeah, I'm 100% guilty of just being in this weird fucking space where I'm pretentious in my own right of just like, oh yeah, 80s horror. The trashier it is, the better, and fuck everything else. I'm guilty of it.
Yeah, that's called hyperfocus, and that's cool. It's good. It doesn't. I think the best thing for you to think of on that level is that doesn't make other things not good. It's just that's what you're focused on.
No,
because I have that. I get hyper focused all the time on like things that I'm like interested in.
And that obviously is kind of cut in two by what this whole episode is about, which is Batman, because that is a very current movie.
Right. Speaking of which, the Batman 2 is happening, if we haven't covered that on the pod.
We haven't yet.
Should we?
Whatever you know, please.
The Batman 2 is happening. The Matt Reeves and his co-writer from the first movie, Masson Tomlin, have both independently confirmed that they are deep in writing of the Batman 2. And a journalist came out and said that Robert Pattinson's Batman was going to become the new center of the new DCEU. They're going to make that like the Iron Man of the new universe. And James Gunn said, hey, I love this reporter. He's a great guy. He's a really good dude. He's got bad sources on this, and that's not true. Matt Reeves retweeted that and said, yeah, that's accurate. It's not true. James Gunn's the best source on this. And then Matt Reeves came out in an interview and said that James Gunn is going to allow us to do our things in the Gotham universe. And he's going to let us do our own things. We're going to have a meeting. We're going to talk about what we plan to do so we don't clash into each other, like air traffic control. You know, we're each going to do our own thing. So that's already established. The Batman 2 is happening. The Penguin is shooting right now, I think, or it's shooting in like a couple days. Like the Penguin show starts shooting. Arkham already has a showrunner and a writer. And the plan is basically to do those movies and those spinoffs and have them be just their own little separate universe.
If that can 100% come to fruition, that is a wet dream for me.
That's how I see it.
And
Matt, James Gunn is on the record, like on podcasts before getting this job, when they're saying like, well, do you have any like filmmakers you feel this or that way about? And he said like he's a huge fan of Matthew Vaughn and Matt Reeves, because those are guys who cut through the studio system and like do like impressive movies. So I don't see James Gunn trying to cut into Matt Reeves' creative.
God, I hope not, because what they were able to accomplish is perfect. Unfortunately, I feel like, you know, God bless him. It takes time to get things right, but fuck, do we have to wait another 3 to 5 years for the next Batman movie?
Probably till 2025, I would guess.
Ugh.
So about 2 more years.
I could deal with 2 more years.
I mean, the Nolan, we did 3 and then 4, right?
Well, yeah, but there was definitely, I remember, I vividly remember this. It was like you and Nick, and I was sitting in my jacuzzi, and we were talking about fucking Batman, and you were like, yeah, man, it looks like we're gonna get a Matt Reeves, Ben Affleck Batman movie, and I vividly remember that, and that stuck with me, and then it was only like 6 months to a year later that we were no longer getting a Matt Reeves, Ben Affleck movie, we were getting a Matt Reeves Batman movie, and
we're all the better for it.
I agree. Can we just talk briefly about how perfect Pattinson is in that role?
Yes, we can.
Because, God, I know so many people are like, yeah, well, he's too this, he's too that, he's too dark. I'm like, that's what the character is.
Dark?
Like, that...
Psychologically or physically? Like, what are they talking about?
Psychologically. Like, he's not... He doesn't have any... you know, characterization. He's just this. And it's like, that is the probably the best representation of Batman in his youth. Batman's youth.
Yeah.
That is, as a character that's ever been seen on film.
Mm-hmm.
Because it would be this, like, as much as I love, God, do I fucking love that little bit between Alfred and Bruce on the plane in Batman Begins, where they're going back and forth, and he's like, oh, you know, just, you know, fill the Royce before you bring her back, sort of a deal. You know, just be sure you bring the Royce back with a full tank. You know, I love that little bit of, you know, jib between them, because that establishes their relationship for
Sure.
for the rest
I
of
do
the
too.
franchise.
Yeah.
But Bruce Wayne, in his first couple of years of Batman, would have to be this fucking maniac, this force that cannot be stopped. In order to continue this, he would need to go through a period of this is the only thing, this is the only thing, this is the only thing, and then this is what I did wrong, and this is where I need to learn. Okay, this is how I grow. And that is what that movie gets right more than any other fucking bit of Batman that has ever been put onto screen, is that he realizes that he's been doing it, but he's been doing it wrong. And that is fucking perfect.
I mean, yeah. No, like it's complicated. Like they're trying to do a certain thing with them, but Batman is a kid whose parents were murdered in an alley, and he'll never be normal. And like they wrote him as normal for a little while. Like the comics wrote him as normal for a little while, like in the 70s. And like some people think he should have written as normal, but it's like that's really stupid because he shouldn't, because like he's this guy whose parents were murdered in an alley while he watched them be murdered, and like he became weird. And like if we're writing this character with any verisimilitude, like any at all, he's a guy who became weird. And I think that's the best versions of the character. And I think like this version of the movie was really on point with that. Like I watched today. I watched the behind the scenes of him and the Joker that they cut out of the movie with the great
Barry
Keoghan.
Yeah.
Is how he pronounces it.
Yeah.
Keoghan. And dude, it's so good. It's so good.
I really do wish they had left that scene in.
Dude, it's so good. Like, that kid's fucking amazing.
Well,
he bounces off Pattinson perfectly, and it makes the movie better. The whole thing does.
Yeah, I think that scene improves the movie, which it is really saying something.
Yeah.
I think because that scene at the end with the Riddler feels so tacked on in the original cut that if you put that scene in the center of the film, it explains a lot, gives so much background to what is already established. There's a lot of character depth to both those characters, and then makes that scene at the end with the Riddler not feel like a post-credit scene, which is what it felt like when I watched it.
Totally agree. And like I think it only feels like a post-credit scene because of the way that they added it. Like it's not like Matt Reeves was talking about that when the movie came out. He was like, that wasn't a post. He was like, we were not doing like this post-credit, like here's the villain for the next movie. He was like, this was just the idea of like the story keeps going, like Gotham stays dangerous kind of thing. And he was like, I didn't want to keep this in with removing the Joker part out. He was like, but you needed it to know that like the Riddler stayed dangerous and like Gotham stayed dangerous, and like it wouldn't change just because these people went to jail.
Well, if that was the argument, then like put that 2-minute scene back in because it's good. Like
I'm 1,000% with that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like as far as I can tell, that was the only scene that they took out, and I'm like, why? It's perfect. It's fucking, Al Pacino and Robert De Niro in Heat. That's what it is, man. It's a good fucking scene of just people talking. Gotta use the bathroom.
Yes.
Go for it, buddy. right, we're dialed back in. We had to stop for a pee break.
That's right. That's right. We did.
Hello, sir. Can I
pee
use
some
the
more?
facilities? I think you poured it all out already. Is it?
No. It's
There's
Damn
a
it,
drop.
Johnny, it was
There's a drop.
it was part of the gag. It's all good.
Sorry. I buried the lead there. I don't remember exactly where we're at, except that, we were talking about Matt Reeves, the Batman, and how fucking good it is. And I know we touched on a little bit as far as Robert Pattinson, but then we went off in another direction.
Yeah.
I remember when he was announced, and a lot of people were angry, but I don't think I could have been more excited, and that's because of things like The Lighthouse and Good Time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
He is a fucking great Batman. And I think we've talked briefly about, people maybe having stuff to say about his physicality. But, his physicality
dude,
meets...
he's not, he's not big and jacked and perfect.
But he's not 240 pounds or whatever the fuck.
No, he's not. But he got into very good shape, and I feel like he hit the mark for the role.
Well, he's also, supposed to be something like fucking 28 years old or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. He's supposed to be in his 20s.
He's not this
That's
fucking
totally
beast of a grunt of a man who's, perfected it yet, either.
100%.
And then Michael Keaton is arguably the smallest man known to man, and he played Batman too.
Yeah. And that was a different time, right? Like, Michael Keaton was this very small guy that the rest of us were like, excuse me, sir. Pardon me, sir, you're in my way. Like, you're very small, and we don't trust you.
Well, he makes for a very unassuming, Bruce Wayne, which works, and as does Pattinson. He's not someone. It's almost Pattinson's, disregard for everything that is his shield.
Yeah.
Almost. Where,
yeah,
you have Keaton's, his unassumingness, for lack of a better word, if that's even a word, and then you have Christian Bale's playboyness that he, oversells. You're like, oh wow, this person couldn't possibly be bothered to care.
You couldn't be, yeah.
And then, you have Robert Pattinson, who's just so aggressively conformist.
Right. And they're all like, oh, this guy is, everyone, brings him a negative perspective because he's...
Yeah.
He's Pattinson. It's like, oh, this guy is he's bad for this and that reason. I remember thinking that, when I first saw him, I was like, okay, this guy sucks. It's cool. I'm serious. I'm dead serious. I was like, oh, okay, this guy sucks. And then when I saw him, I was like, okay, he's actually good. But it was just that. It was just the perspective of
the
movie.
Well, I think that'll probably about do it for this episode. I think we're all about good and intoxicated over on this end.
Are we enough, though? Should we not be drunker?
We probably could be.
For the next bunker. Come on. Are we living that life the right way?
You know,
That's the question.
I feel like we probably have like another hour in us. And we could just keep on getting more drunk.
We certainly could.
And talk more aggressively about Batman and how he saved our childhoods. But you know what? That's a different story for another pod.
Darn.
Thank you. If any of you fucking people who are not Kalen Berreman and Jonathan Maraska made it all the way through all fucking 4 hours of this podcast.
I legitimately cannot believe that you did. Who did? Because that's crazy. You are full of shit.
But you know, we really appreciate you guys. You guys are great, and you know what? We'll probably see you on the flip side. So, adios, motherfuckers.
God damn, dude. What are we doing?
I don't know. What are you doing?
I think it's funny how